Hello and welcome to another book review. I am your host, Shrouded Sky. You can call me Brian. And today, I didn't read the first book like I said I was going to, so I am sorry for the commenter who left the comment that I should read Scum first. I have Scum literally sitting to my right. I'm literally touching it right now. I did not read it first, but I am glad to say that I haven't. So today, since we're not talking about the first book, we're going to be talking about Primal, Wrong Side of the Tracks, Book 2 by K.A. American. K.A. American being one of my favorite authors that I've ever read smut from, so I appreciate that I am reading another one. So as we do in every book review, we're going to be touching on the story, so there's going to be a lot of spoilers ahead for the characters, the story, the plot, so just brace yourselves. I did leave a lot of the actual kind of highlights out in terms of this book, so there's a lot you can still get out of it if you wanted to go read it, but just in case, final warning, spoilers ahead. So our two main love interests are Dane and Jag. Dane, we find out in the beginning, is left for dead by his ex, wrapped in a carpet, just left in a junkyard for dead, as you're one to do with a human being. He is rescued by Jag, but during the kind of story we get to know him a little bit better. He lusts after bad boys, dangerous men, and quote-unquote monsters. He is a self-proclaimed certifiable monster fucker, and we stand for that. He's also overweight, so I definitely felt like I jived with him as a character because I too am like Dane, overweight certified monster fucker. He is worried about his family during it, and we get the sense that he's like not the caretaker, but he is kind of responsible for helping with the family, and kind of like being there and providing, not providing per se, but like just, being there for his family, caring for his family as one is to do, as you're one to do with your family for the most part. But it's something he kind of really hones in on, that he's like, I need to go back for my family. I'm responsible. I have a job, this, that, and the other, And then on the other hand, the other love interest is Jag. He is raised by an archaic society that is wild, patriarchal, and homophobic. Kind of. It's not technically wolves, but it's described as like a modern-day Tarzan situation. They live off the grid. It's a very patriarchal society that they live in. The men are supposed to be the breadwinners, the hunters, the caretakers of like the homestead, if you will. And then the wives are supposed to be, raising the children, tending to the homestead, stuff like that. So it's very like, I don't want to say Amish because I don't know what the Amish are like, but it feels in that kind of vein where it's like ye old England, where it's like, the men does the things, the woman takes care of the house, that sort of stuff. He lives in a junkyard in a secret bunker that he built in a hidden valley of rubble. Like it's not easy to get to or in or out of unless you know what you're looking for. And he's described as large, hairy, and incredibly strong. And he's possessive and crass. He's not well known for education or like reading, so he's not the most well educated man. But he's he knows what he wants and he wants what he knows. Does that make sense? Not at all. He knows what he wants. He wants a man, and he wants to breed with him. He wants a mate. So, meeting the other characters, we have Dex. He's a horny manslet, and I love that for him. He is the protagonist of the next book, which is great, because I am very hooked, and I should probably read them in order. We have Frank, who is Dex's uncle and the owner of the junkyard. He is a big tsundere of a man, in my opinion. He is very rough and tough on the outside, but he does care in his own weird, rough way for Jag, so Rosen and Shane, who are the protag and they're the protags of Scum, the first book. And I honestly didn't realize that when I bought Scum. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I saw the name and I was like, oh, okay. Oh, that's fun. So I'm very much looking forward to reading Scum because it's the first book. It's not required to read it, so I didn't, but I thought I was and I didn't. So. But yeah, they live in a manicured like plot near the junkyard. They're kind of related, not related to Frank, but they're related to Frank and Dex and their kind of like group dynamic, if you will. So, as we kind of touched on, Dane's boyfriend, or should we say ex-boyfriend, who's an asshole, Rob, used Dane for his tech wizardry skills and then had him disposed of in a carpet and dropped off in a junkyard for dead. Jag, who is returning from a nightmare of a date where it didn't go well, accepts the task of moving and disposing of the body wrapped up in the carpet. Jag is surprised to see such a beautiful man killed, but is also surprised to find him alive. Taking him back to his den, a shack buried in the junkyard and hidden among the rubbish, he helps Dane survive. So it's interesting that he takes him back there because he then puts the collar on him, chains him up to a wall, makes him so he doesn't leave, but also tends to his wounds and like make sure that he's gonna live. And then to kind of to cut some of the middle stuff out that kind of happens, it's the captor-captive romance arc. Dane tries to escape. He gets captured, gets bred. A storm gets ruined during the den. The pair are very antagonistic towards each other this time. Dane just wants to leave and tries to do anything to get in Jag's good graces so he can try and weasel his way out. Meanwhile, Jag wants him as a mate, and Dane doesn't quite understand what he's talking about, despite the word meaning the same thing that Dane's thinking of. At some point in the story, kind of like halfway through, maybe about halfway through or so, Jag gets severely injured, and they have to take him to the hospital, where Frank and Shane are keeping an eye from Dane, who is, wanting to escape and trying to escape. So, at the hospital, he gets help from Peter and manages to escape by convincing them that the men he came in with are holding him against his will, and he's trying to escape. So, Peter calls security, Dane leaves. Dane goes back home and is faced with his family, who is both angry, relieved, worried, and confused as to his sudden reappearance and sudden extended absence, if you will. When Jag finds out that Dane has left, Jag, chases Dane down and gets to the house first. And since he's still wounded, openly bleeding through the, robe that they give you at the hospital, passes out from blood loss. Dane's family is confused at this and figures out that Dane's probably just ran away because he was ashamed to come out as gay, or to announce that he had a boyfriend to his family because maybe they wouldn't accept him, which isn't quite the truth, but Dane just lets it go because, how would he explain that his ex left him for dead and Jag helped him but also kept him as a captive? And then Frank and Co show up, and then Dane explains what happened for the most part, that Frank, Jag, and their group are basically helping Dane from this kind of situation with Rob and the biker club that Rob is affiliated with. But during this time, Rob has put a tracker on them, and Dane finds it and freaks out once they get back to the junkyard. Rob shows up and ends up getting injured, but not quite dead yet. The Demon Brethren MC are there with Frank, and then, because they're trying to figure out what to do. And they just decide to end Rob's life, which is fair, because, he was deceitful. He didn't do what he needed to do. The video he kind of erased was, damning for him. So Rob was just trying to cover his own ass, and it's not going over well. But they do let Dane off for, kind of knowing too much, if you will, as long as he'll do some odd jobs with his tech wizardry skills. But that's essentially it. And I know I left out a lot here. I really left out a lot here. But I kind of want to give you the main beats, if you will. There's a lot of smut that I missed and didn't touch over. There's a lot of cute bonding moments between Jag and Dane in this kind of captor-captive relationship, if you will. But let's go talk about some tropes, though, because there's a few that I would like to touch on. So we have the obvious trope in the room, the bad, unhealthy BDSM dynamics and etiquette, if you will. The fact that Dane didn't consent to any of this is obviously red flag number one. And being held up against his will and just being restrained and held captive in a junkyard where he can't escape and being, hunted and bound is not good. But a severe lack of communication from Jag's end and his overall possessive behavior. I did enjoy reading it. I have a thing for men like that, or at least scenarios like that. As long as it's consensual, it's great. In this case, not so, but, makes for a good plot. Found family. Jag had a family who he left because of his sexual tendencies, and he didn't want to mate with a woman, so his father was like, you kind of need to get the hell out of here. It's not necessarily homophobic per se, but it's homophobic. Let's just call it what it is. But his found family, Frank, Rosen, Shane, Dex, to some extent, if you want to call it that, they kind of, accept him for who he is. He's kind of wild. He's, like they said, the modern day Tarzan. They know what to expect from him. He's a little, not simple-minded, but he's a simple man, simple needs. He doesn't need, a fancy house like Shane and Rosen. He's fine living in essentially squalor in a way, but chic squalor. I don't know how to describe it. It's not bad, but it's, you're living in a junkyard. You're living in a shack, basically. So Dane also then finds the same group as he falls for Jag and wants to be with him. He finds his found family. He finds people who can accept him, who don't care, that he's enjoying being hunted like prey. And this is a monster fucker primal play, you know? Dane loves big, scary, and dangerous men as well as fucking monsters. And at the end, Jag and Dane find themselves enjoying a bit of a prey, power play, predator dynamic. So, you know, good for them. But it's something I wish I could have, but, you know, one day. And then as far as rankings, this should be fairly obvious by how I've been talking about the book. But the plot, characters, writing style, and spicy scenes overall, we'll go through each one of these categories in turn. But starting off with the plot, it's going to be a 5 stars, I think, all the way down. The plot was great. I liked the setup. It was set up very well with Jag's bad first date and clearly showing that he's not like other, you know, most men. He's kind of wild and untamed and kind of got a wrong idea of like the dating scene and how to date. And then with, you know, Dane showing up basically on death's door wrapped in a carpet, and then the rescue and stuff like that. Like it's decent. It's like it's a slow burn. It's a good slow burn in my opinion. I enjoyed it. So I think the plot works well for the story that they're going for here, and especially with the, you know, developments that happen. As far as the characters, I love all of them. I'm very excited to read Scum so I can get more of Shane and Rosen. I liked Dane and Jag so much. I especially like Dane because I felt like I was Dane, or I am Dane in a lot of ways in terms of monster fucker, you know, bigger guys and stuff like that. And it's something we don't normally get in these kind of romance books. It's usually either big, strong alpha men with small twink, or two moderately beefy, muscular guys falling for each other. They don't really describe a lot of bigger men falling for like big buff men, which I appreciate, especially in this kind of a story. As far as writing styles go, K.A. American has like a chokehold on my heart in terms of writing style. I love the way they write these darker romance stories, from things like, you know, The Wrong Way Home to Scum to Primal. Like, I'm very much a fan. Or even Where the Devil Says Goodnight. Like, I like these darker takes on romances from K.A. American. They're great. I don't think I've ever read something like this from K.A. American, where it's well, I haven't read Scum either, but you know, I think in terms of stories, I think this one hit home for me in a lot of ways in terms of writing style, but also just because of its K.A. American. I'm probably rambling, but let's just move on. The spicy scenes are also 5. I'm not surprised at all in terms of how this was going to play out. Again, the primal play, even if it's bad BDSM, the BDSM dynamics were great to read. You know, consent is sexy and all, but like I like just to be manhandled by a big man. So take it what you can. But I do enjoy the sex scenes here. There's not a lot of them in this romance story, and I think that's okay. There's quite a few of them, don't get me wrong, but I do enjoy the few that we have. Again, it's a story about the characters first, but the spicy scenes that I got were great. And then overall, this is a 5-star book for me. Like I said, I love K.A. American, chokehold on my heart. I love the books that they produce, and I'm very excited to read Scum and also the next one, which I don't know the title off of my head, but we'll touch on the recommendations here and then see what we have next. As far as recommendations go, not surprised that I'm recommending another K.A. American one. The Wrong Way Home is very similar in terms of themes. Captive-captor relationship. This one has the captee, if you will, stumbling upon a murder scene and stuff like that. I've done a review on The Wrong Way Home, I think. Yes, I did a review on The Wrong Way Home. It's great. You should definitely read it. If you like either or, like if you like Primal, read Wrong Way Home. If you like Wrong Way Home, read Primal. They're both great. And then another one that's kind of in theme, if you will, of being saved by big buff men. We have Kissed by the Krampus. This is a book I just reviewed recently, but it's a Monster in My Bed book. It's more supernatural than Primal, but I think it's also fitting since K.A. American did Where the Devil Says Goodnight. That's more of a supernatural folklore-y kind of book as well, so I felt that would fit thematically for what K.A. American can do. But Kissed by the Krampus is, like I said, supernatural savior. The supernatural being saves a human and they fall in love and fuck and stuff like that. So I do enjoy both books. I think you would enjoy both books if you enjoyed Primal. But without further ado, I would like to give a big shout out to my patron, Potato Kingdom. So many P's. The alliterative P's are just kind of tripping me up today. But Potato Kingdom has been here for a few months as my patron, and I appreciate all of the help that they do provide me, and encouragement and stuff like that with regards to these videos. I couldn't do this without your guys' feedback or your guys' support. So I appreciate Potato Kingdom for doing both of those things and making it easier for me to not feel like I'm stressed out about posting these things. And then if you do want to follow me in other places, you can follow me on twitch.tv. I stream 7 nights a week, every night around 6 p.m. PT, playing a different video game. Right now we're doing things like Arcade Spirits, a fun visual novel, or even Chrono Trigger, my first playthrough of it. So we have a lot of stuff going on there. It's a lot of fun if you ever want to come hang out. You can also find my unhinged thoughts on Twitter. If you ever want to see what fictional men I'm thirsting over or want to retweet, you can find me there. And then if you do ever want to offer me support, you don't have to. It's by no means necessary, but if you feel so inclined to do, you can support me on Patreon. You can get access to things like videos early, or even access to polls about what book do you want me to review next, or what book do you want me to read so I can review, stuff like that. But if you feel so inclined, feel free. But if not, no pressure, my friends. And with that, I'll wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and listening to me ramble on about this wonderful, wonderful book again. I'll see you guys next time. And if you have any questions, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe with a question or anything like that. Or if you have any book recommendations, just let me know. If you want me to read something or review it, let me know. And I'll take that in mind. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, evening, morning, afternoon, night, whatever time you're watching this. And I'll see you guys next one. I love you all so much. Have a good one.